And here on DawgNation Daily, happen to welcome in a guy that's been a big part of SEC football for a long time and also someone with a tremendous story to tell and a new book to help tell it. It is Coach Scott Cochran, formerly of Georgia, Alabama, and of course now at West Alabama, here today on DawgNation Daily. Coach, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with us.
Fired up to be here, baby. Glad to be here.
Well, we're excited about the brand new book. We're calling it Skull Session, Mastering the Mental Game in Sports and in Work and in Life. And we're obviously going to talk about that and how folks can kind of pick that up here over the course of our time. But to kind of, I guess, get people acquainted with you, there's so much to talk about. Let's kind of go back to a time in which you sort of first became well known to a lot of us when you get there to Alabama. Of course, Kirby Smart's there too, and Nick Saban starts having this incredible success there. And as someone like yourself, books are written all the time about, success formulas and, how to kind of translate that to business. And here you are, not just having kind of a front row seat for all this, but really being an instrumental part of how Alabama built this sort of unprecedented national championship machine for a while. What did you learn about success, your own personal success, the institutional program success, being so close to Coach Saban, and all the ways in which that just seemed to kind of fall in place shortly after he was hired there in 2007?
I got a glimpse of it at LSU. Working with him for 5 years at LSU, I had a glimpse. I had a little bit of, okay, I understand what it takes to be a champion and to work for a man that knows how to win championships. And so when I got to Alabama, it was a perfect fit for me. I'm from New Orleans. I went to a school called John Curtis, and I lost 2 games in high school as a player. So I know a lot about championships, so working for Coach Saban was just, 2007, he gives me the call. And for obvious reasons now, it's a no-brainer that I sprinted to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And then obviously you're there. And one of the things we've had former Alabama players tell us, and seems just sort of obvious looking in, is that, and I think Lane Kiffin even said this one time, you're kind of like the good cop and Coach Saban's sort of the bad cop. And former Alabama players have told us, like, hey, during the offseason, Coach Cochran was sort of my guy. And that was the guy we felt comfortable talking to and maybe, just sort of interacting with. Whereas, like, as the leader of the organization, Saban had this entirely different vibe going on. So being, I guess, the sort of trusted resource for the players, that had to be kind of a special relationship for you too. And it's kind of the template for how we think of all strength coaches now, but it was really you in that role that probably kind of made that famous. That had to be a good feeling to know at that time, and for many years after that, you would have such a deep relationship with all the players that would come through there.
Yeah, and I thrived in that. I thrived in helping others. It's kind of being a coach is a bit of a calling, I would say, especially, when we first started doing this, the players were brand new to things. Like, think of the NIL now, right? Like, it's brand new. A freshman walks in the door, and you got to think about it, right? If you're at Alabama or Georgia or LSU, you're coming in as a superstar, right? You
Yeah.
were a really good player for your high school. You probably never watched, right? You're probably never on the sideline because somebody was in front of you. And you come in as a freshman and you're bigger, you're faster, you're sleeping better than you've ever slept. You have all of these things and you're not touching the field. So that's where my relationship with them really grew when they were freshmen, when guys were freshmen, because, they're, mom and dad are telling them, oh, you should be starting, you should be the guy, you're my baby. And then they come to practice every day and there's a first round talent in front of you. You can pout or you can, put all 10 toes down and say, I'm going to learn everything I can from the guy in front of me. I'm going to try to beat him out, but I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can so that I can be an All-American one day, an All-SEC player, or get my name called in the draft.
The book is Skull Session, Mastering the Mental Game in Sports, Work, and Life. The author is Scott Cochran, former Georgia coach, Alabama coach, joining us here today on DawgNation Daily. We're talking about all the big details. And, of course, it's around this time that you also develop a friendship with Kirby Smart. It's interesting for those of us who talk about Georgia on a daily basis to think about this version of Kirby when he was much younger, when we didn't know that he would also go on to have the success he's also enjoyed. What was it like seeing Kirby in those early days, and what did you think about him before he became as famous as he's become to all of us now?
Oh, it was obvious that he had the the it factor. It was when he was the defensive coordinator, his attention to details uh were incredible. I always say Coach Saban's attention to details is where, that's where the championships are won, in his detailed work. But Kirby took it to another level. And so, anyone in the program that was around Coach Smart when he was, younger, grinding, they knew that he was going to have success as a head coach, no doubt. And I think that's why everybody tried to get on the plane when he
Yeah.
left Tuscaloosa, because they know he was going to have success.
So it's around this time as you're having your own brand of success as probably the most famous strength and conditioning coordinator in college football, truly respected as an instrumental part of the success that Alabama is having. And yet, as you've been very open in talking about, you were battling a lot of personal stuff throughout all of this. And the way I get the sense of this, and Coach Cochran, I want you to tell your own story, of course, is, but your coach, yeah, you've got to be the loudest guy at practice. You've got to be the most energetic guy. You're literally not allowed to have a bad day, right? You can't be lethargic. You can't be tired. And in the midst of trying to keep up with what people were expecting from you, that came at a personal cost during that time in your life. Would you mind talking about what became for you a battle with addiction, painkilling
Yes.
pills specifically during that time? Would you mind telling us a little bit more about that?
Yes, yes. And I go deep into it in the book, and it's kind of how the book was originally. That was the whole point, was to tell my story. Um, and, I started getting these migraines from yelling. And I went to the docs, and the doc said, "Hey, why don't you just try to stop yelling?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, doc, why don't you stop breathing?" Um, and so, they tried multiple different avenues with medicine, and they did the CAT scans, they tried everything, and nothing worked. And then the doc said, "Hey, we're gonna put you on something called oxycodone," and I was like, "Okay, whatever." Like,
Hmm.
he goes, "No, no, 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 this is addictive," and I'm like, "Dude, come on."
Hmm.
I'm killing it in life. We're winning championships. I'm on the Jumbotron, like I'm on ESPN, like
Sure.
all these things. I've no way. I'm the strength coach at Alabama. There's no way I'm not the guy under the bridge. I won't get addicted to these things.
Hmm.
And within 6 months, that doc basically said, "I'm not writing you anymore." And he saw I was having, struggled with it, and was like, "You're done, no more." And so I found other docs that would write me the script, because it worked. It's the
Yeah.
craziest thing. My migraines were really awful. It was like a vice in my temples, like just cranking every group, every day, it was just getting worse and worse. And then I get this pill, and my headache's gone. Oh my God. And I can coach all day. I don't have to worry about, oh, I can't yell because, my head's
Sure.
gonna hurt. I can actually yell. I can coach. I can be me. Um, and sure enough, I got hooked, and it was just an ugly, dark, dark path.
I do understand. I mean, and I think you're so courageous to tell the story the way that you do. And it's around 2020 that you leave Alabama to come to Georgia. And I believe you've sort of said that in making that move, you were hoping that, hey, a change in geography, a different place might create a different mindset. And suddenly, this battle that you were pretty clearly in the midst of that you hoped it might get better simply because you were working in a different place. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. And so my thought was, if I left strength and conditioning, if I left Alabama, um, I wouldn't have to yell. I wouldn't have to, be on 24/7, so to speak. And I'll stop taking these pills. Um, but the the part they don't tell you, right, is you go through this thing called withdrawals.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to walk in the door as a special teams coordinator and be sick for 2 weeks, because you feel like you have the flu.
Yeah.
And so my intake got worse my disease just progressed and got worse until April 10th, 2020.
Hmm.
Uh, I overdosed. My wife found me
Wow.
during COVID. She found me dead on the ground.
Wow.
In our house. Very very sad moment. Big big wake up call, I guess, to the wife. And after coming to in the hospital, I went to get help, but I didn't tell anybody because it was COVID, so I could do everything on Zoom. I had it all
Yeah.
figured out. Um, and so once COVID lifted and we were able to get back into the facility, I left rehab and went in, and I'm thinking, oh man, I got this thing beat. It's good. I'm good to go. I don't ever have to worry about taking a pill again. And not 2 months later, I'm right back where I
Wow.
was. And when you go to rehab, they ask you, okay, what doctors were prescribing this to you, right? And so they call those docs and they say, hey, never write a script for this person again.
Yeah.
And so now I don't have doctors to call. Now I'm literally buying it off the street. So I am blessed beyond measure uh, to be here today, because any one of those pills could have killed me.
Wow.
Uh, I was addicted to fentanyl, and the stuff that was in my system should have killed me. But God has me here for a greater purpose, and that's why I wrote the book Skull Session.
Well, we hope
Uh,
everybody gets a chance to read that. As you say, Skull Session is the book. A couple more minutes here with Coach Cochran, who's been kind enough to share his time with us here today. And I think the part of your story that I relate to so much is that for guys, I'm sure gals too, but I'm a man, so I sort of know this from the position of a man. It's like when you're in the midst of your career, you don't want to slow down. The idea of slowing down feels scary. And in your particular case, you were doing everything you could to kind of keep that pace up to the point where it became unavoidable. What was it like for you? Painful conversations, I'm sure, where you and your wife have to confront what she obviously saw and the fact that it's just objectively true. You're lucky to be alive after that. And then to tell Coach Smart what he was not aware of. Hey, Coach Smart, I'm sorry. I've got something going on that you need to know. That's a scary conversation for a lot of people. What was it
Let me
like?
tell you this. I got to
Okay.
jump in right there, because the way that Coach Smart handled it was a blessing from God. I don't, in the middle of my battle, he was able to say, how can I help you? Instead of, oh, we're going to have to take your job away from you. We're going to have to fire you. We're going to get rid of you.
Mm-hmm.
His response was, I mean, the exact words out of his mouth when I told him were, how can I help you and your family
Wow.
at this time? I'm like, whoa, I'm crying on the phone to this man. Like, I'm going to lose my job. I'm not going to be able to provide for my family. And he says, how can I help you and your family? That's who Kirby Smart is. That defines him as a human being. That one moment just tells you who he is and what he really cares about.
So one final question for me. They want to make sure you let everybody know exactly where they can find the brand new book. So obviously in the aftermath of all this, you're still, and the interview obviously proves this to be true, still the same energetic guy you've always been, fresh, brand new perspective on life, going about things now, obviously a completely different way. For our audience who kind of wants more of that, I'm sure, and I know you go more into this in the book, like how do you maintain, even after all of this, what you've been through and kind of the fresh new perspective on life, how do you maintain this level of energy that's made you famous to so many of the folks in our audience for the impact that you've had on the game of football? How do you maintain that?
I honestly tried my hardest to put that on paper in this book. Um, I really tried to explain how to get the energy and the joy for life. How to find that either it's in your work, it's in your life, uh, whatever you're pursuing. I really tried to put that on paper for people because I don't think it takes one word answer to this. I don't think
Hmm.
it's a sentence. I think it's a deep dive into who you are as an individual and finding out your purpose and your passion, uh, and then going after it with, the attention to detail that's necessary. I'm I'm living my best life right now.
Great.
I'm the head coach at West Alabama. And it's we're a little small D2,
Sure.
and we're gonna punch and scream and claw our way through games. But I tried to put all of that into my book, The Skull Session, because I do believe that taking where you are right now and you're trying to achieve something, it's just not, people don't put it out for you. It's not as simple as take this, take that step. And I tried to put that on paper so that people could understand, like, this is for you. You don't have to, you don't have to overdose and almost die uh, to live the life that I'm living today. There's things you can do, and I tried to put that in this book, along with telling my story and telling some SEC stories, telling some stories about Coach Saban, some stories about Kirby, um, you know, and it's a fun book, but it's to help you get to that level that you're looking for. I walk in God's grace and mercy every day, but I don't do that without gratitude. And there's parts in the book about gratitude. It's about how to write your goals down. How do you even do that? Here's the baby steps that I've taken, multiple teams through, and had a lot of success.
It's an important message. It's all part of the brand new book, Skull Session: Mastering the Mental Game in Sports, Work, and in Life. August 19th. It's available everywhere. Coach Cochran, for people who want to kind of connect with the book, find out more about it, including purchasing it, where can they go? What do they need to do to kind of connect with this brand new book?
I know you can get pre-orders on Amazon. I know you can get pre-orders through Books a Million. There's the Audible version. It's everywhere. And it is out officially August 19th. I'm the first one to get a copy.
Love it.
I have my own copy. It's got my ugly mug on it. But you'll be able to find it on Amazon pre-order or Books a Million or an Audible. Yeah, come check. Just have a sit down. It's not a long read. It's me telling a few stories, and hopefully, my goal is to help every individual that picks up the book to want to give it to someone else after they read it, because that it impacted you that much.
I think that's a
Uh,
beautiful message. I do.
yeah.
I do.
So
Great stuff, Coach. Best of luck to West Alabama here this season.
thank
Continued
you.
success for you, and hopefully everybody will get a chance to hear more of your stories as part of the brand new book, Skull Session. Coach, we'll look forward to getting our chance to speak to you very soon, but thank you so much for telling your story here today.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.